This is our 5th live and in-person inspiration session for 2025, specially created by the Elevate team, ensuring that the Elevate community receives the most valuable and impactful tools, resources, and inspiration. Networking can feel daunting at any stage of your career, but at its heart, it's about building meaningful connections. With the right mindset and strategies, it can be enjoyable and rewarding. In this talk, Max Fellows, the founder of Allpoints and co-founder of Elevate, will share practical tips and strategies for navigating the entire networking process with confidence, authenticity, and less awkwardness. There's something for everyone in this talk, no matter how senior you are. The presentation referred to in this session can be downloaded from the show notes. This podcast was recorded at Protein Studios in Shoreditch with a live audience.
Welcome to Max.
Thank you. Thank you, mate. But we're going to want a bit more energy than that as well, hey? How's everyone doing this evening? Woo! Welcome all this evening. It's very rare that I get introduced up onto stage, so it's quite the pleasure. I'm looking forward to this evening. Some people will know why, but this is quite an important topic, I believe, for everyone. The fact is that everyone here has already completed this to an extent already in there. So everyone probably has already spoken to someone else they might not have before. You've networked, basically. You've completed it. We should all go home. But the word networking, it instills fear into some. How does the word networking make you feel? Not very confident. Okay. Let's see then as a show of hands, who enjoys networking? Oh, Christ, that was more than I thought. Right. Ignore slides 8 and 14. It's not for you. Okay. It's definitely not, it is you. Who thinks that it's important? Okay, great. So about half the room enjoys it, maybe a third, but everyone agrees and realises it's important. So we're going to do a max factor here, and we're going to go on the factor of 10. And I want people to, yeah, all right, terrible, but I had to get it in there. So what I'd like to do is understand where people are at in terms of their confidence within it, and we gauge a scale. And we're going to start at 10. So who feels they are a 10 out of 10 at networking? Yes, love that. 1, egged on. 9. Okay, 1 more. 8. About 6 more. 7. 6. Okay, 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. No one, great, okay. So in between about 4 and 6, maybe 7 is where we're at. And today, we're going to change that so everyone feels at least a 7, basically. That's my intent, that's my mission. Come on the journey with me. There's going to be a bit of interactivity as always, some terrible jokes, but just stick with it, I promise. It'll be an all right 45 minutes. My name's Max, as you know, hopefully. I founded Elevate 10 years ago with Mel, and Pete's been amazing in helping drive that. A core part of why I founded Elevate was the fact that I am from the sports industry. I've never known events before this. I had no idea who was in it, and I'm only in it because I met someone at a rugby club and the next day got an interview at his old job. That's it. And I think that story is one that's a little bit familiar in terms of coming in left field or people helping us into it. I now live to an extent off of my network and the connections I've made, and Elevate lives and breathes because of the connections that it makes. People referring people in, people, as we talk about, if you're sat on your own, or not sat, but people welcoming in, that changes people's evenings. That level of confidence that they get from being welcomed in, or the conversation that had the spark and things, that's why we do this. And it may sound a little bit dramatic and a bit over the top, but generally, people connecting, helping one another, generally really kind of fills Pete's mind and Mel's hearts, and it makes this all worthwhile. Pete told me off because he saw this presentation and felt it was too generated or too geared towards making money. Now, I personally believe if we can get the feel-good factor, and there's slide 13, there's a heart, which shows I care. But if we can also line it up with career and commerciality and growth and things, then blimey, we've got a really good understanding and a really good driver, both in terms of passion as well as then the profit side of things. So that's where I'm trying to come at this from. I did a TED Talk on it as well. It's just a little clanger there. If you want to go check it out, you can. It's on YouTube. But it was all around, is your network really your net worth, and how to effectively qualify, monetize, and everything else is a bit, yeah, it's all right. I asked AI about networking, and it showed me this image. And I think it based it off of my TED Talk, because I talk about the web quite a bit. I talk about different groups and factors, but I think it's attributed to the kind of age-old assumption that network is power handshakes, it's suits, it's dry, it's dull, and it's boring. The reality is we all have networks. Networks can be mates of yours from where you grew up with. It could be friends of friends. It could be someone you met on a night out. It could be your tradie. It could be someone that you used to work with that no longer did. That is your network. It is also the people you care about, the people that you speak to on a regular basis. That is to your network. So I want to try and break down this assumption, or the belief that a network is very business and it is very formulaic and it's only done over a poser table in a shitty venue with a crap drink. It is not. We are living and breathing networking right now. It just feels a little bit different, and it should do. Let's see the last I get with this one. Argos, 1999. Yes. Yes, this is strong image. The collar up was something I was working with at the time. I had a new girlfriend, and this was shot on Bouncy Island, by the way, leaning against a tree, thinking I was the shit. This is where I started building my network. And this was me aged 17, 18, if you like. And so as a quick story as to where and why this is relevant. So I have ADHD, I'm dyslexic. If you spot a typo, I'll buy you a drink, but don't shout it out, tell me afterwards. And I found school really, really hard. I found it really hard. I was also a resemblance of effectively something out of the Addams Family. The one with the bald head, slightly round, rotund. That's what I looked like about 5 years before this Argos magazine shoot. And I found it hard because I didn't learn the right way, and I didn't kind of align with a lot of the ways that you should do and things like that. And so as a result of it, found myself being alienated and kind of cast aside to some degree. And throughout that kind of schooling, the way that I organically got around that is to ask people what they learnt from it and got their opinion. And if they told me their opinion, I learnt that way instead. And so fast forward 3 or 4 years, I was then at college and effectively got through school. I read my first book at 25 and found that if I had taken a lecturer out for a beer, he would tell me a different way. He would tell me the kind of things that I needed to know in the right kind of way. And so by creating these relationships with people that are more senior than I was effectively, it kind of gave me this slight hack, if you like, as to how to bypass traditional academia. And I kind of got by and started enjoying it a bit because you can have some fun with it. Learning became more enjoyable. And then there is a point at which I'd lost a bit of the timber, still a bit heavy set, but my rugby was going all right. And it was at the end of college, and I met this bloke. And this is a good picture of him. He's a sportsman, he doesn't need to be the looker, but I'll tell John that way instead. He's 86 at the moment. He still holds 3 world records. He fell off a ride at Butlins onto a wall and broke his back at the age of 17. And he was the first person to climb Kilimanjaro in a wheelchair. Nutter. So he came in and did a talk. And it was all around pushing boundaries, connecting with, and just chasing things through, chasing your dreams and things like that. And I took that quite literally. So within that kind of conversation, it just sparked something with me. And since that moment, I then kept in touch with John. I spoke to him afterwards, and he said, give me a bell, we'll catch up. So I did. At the end of the first month, I called him, said, John, it's Max, it's me, how's it going? And we had a chat. And he kind of pumped me up a bit, and he's like, no, what you're doing is a good idea, things like that. I was like, cool. He's like, give us a shout back, and we'll talk again next month, let's say. And so that continued. For 14 months, I called him every Friday, the last Friday of the month, and he's like, all right, mate. And he became my biggest cheerleader. And even now, about 3-4 weeks ago, he doesn't really get what I'm doing now, but just for a little buzz and just saying, no, I knew you would. And you get that boost. But on the 14th month, John introduced me to someone else called Jason. Jason ran a sports and fitness company, manufacturing fitness equipment and things up in London, and he gave me an interview. And so Jason said, right, okay, come along. 6 interviews, but I managed to get the job. And so that took me from doing the personal training things into London, and then from there was then working and doing sales and things like that. I outsold Jason. I kind of outsold most of the other people, which I got asked to leave politely from the business. That same evening at said rugby club in Berkhamsted, Chennels, who's a friend of mine, was leaving the job that he was the head of sales at an exhibition company. He said, well, look, if you can sell, then why don't you have a chat with Jan? So I was like, okay. Next day I called him. The next week I had an interview. 2 weeks after that I had the job. And then I'm into the events industry. So a slightly long-winded story. I just wanted to kind of highlight the fact that I didn't know John from Adam at one point, but tracked through probably 6 different people in terms of keeping in touch, following up, goodwill to some degree, and him believing with, and you know, I don't think I would have embarrassed him if he'd introduced me, to a point then, and it's kind of like stars aligning. I would not be here, Elevate wouldn't exist without this bloke or Jason the next one or any of the other. And that for me is the epitome of networking in a way that doesn't feel like networking, but it's about connections, paying it forward, trying to help, and being persistent. Curiosity, passion, and persistence, the 3 principles I think within this industry will see you right all the time. So it kind of made me feel at that point, and I'm falling into the events industry, this is something I got told a lot, the 20, 30, 40 principle. So who here has heard of, learn in your 20s, earn in your 30s, own it, and kind of capitalise in your 40s? Is that a familiar saying, most people? Yeah? Good, confident nod. The same is for networking. And so today what I want to hopefully get across to you is we're going to talk about the principles of networking. And I kind of want to create a new name because it still sounds so wanky, but connecting, let's call it. That's even worse. We'll find something as we go along. But readdress and rebuild the principles around it and how we do it. And then the key kind of elements that you can exercise, and I'll give you some frameworks, some tips and tricks, and be able to do so. But here's one that I want everyone to believe and feel, is that no matter how old you are, where you're at in your career and all the rest of it, that's cool. You can still build your network. And so really you're looking to build, or you will naturally and organically build your connections, your community in your 20s. As you hit your 30s, you'll start seeing that network starting to engage in a slightly different way. You'll see that there's more referral requests. Does anyone know anyone that can? What I love to see is the freelance group on Elevate, or even the mentors and mentees ones. That is like, yes, networking. People are getting work off the back of other people's recommendations and referrals. That is the epitome of that 30s point. And then 40s activate, where the reality is that at that point, everyone knows their craft. Everyone is confident in their capabilities and skills, and they also really know who they work with, who they rate, and things like that. So that sets the scene. Now I want to get everyone uncomfortable a little bit, more so than my bad jokes earlier. So what I would like you to do is turn to the person to your left. If you're on the end, turn around behind. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, perfect. And if not, the cameraman will come over and have a chat with you. You're going to be all right. But I'd like you to turn around to the person, before you do, I'm going to ask you, and it's going to take you 2 minutes. I want you to introduce yourself with your name. If you know the person, that's okay, just roll with it. You two being married might be a bit weird, so maybe one of you swaps over. 1-line intro. So, hi, my name's Max. I run Elevate. And what can you help with? I'm pretty good at introducing to other people, and I know quite a few people. That is a skill set of mine. One specific thing that you're seeking help with currently, I thought loads of good things about this and I've all of a sudden forgotten. Seeking help with is building my community of consultants at the moment. So that's something I'm seeking and acting. Does anyone know of good consultants in the space of growth? Perfect. And then the best way to keep in touch. I love a bit of LinkedIn or my mobile, and I actually want you to use your mobile in that time and connect and find that person. And then you're going to flip it, and you've got 2 minutes per person, and then you flip the other side. And I genuinely want you to either exchange numbers or connect on LinkedIn. Okay? On your marks, get set, go. All right, guys. We're going to wrap that up now. And we're going to bring it slowly back. If you didn't finish, then it's something that you can chase up afterwards, okay? And now you're just networking too much. Come on, come back. Come back, that's it, come back. So, hopefully, come on, that's it, give me it back. Come on, come back. The enthusiasm for networking is quite good, so I believe that we're all in the right place, which is a positive. If you haven't finished your conversation, guys, don't worry. If you haven't finished your conversation, then you can continue afterwards. We've got another exercise in a bit later, so don't worry, we'll do some more. So we've talked about my benefits and why it was important to me, and we talked about the benefits that I received. I now entirely make a living off the network that I created, but I want to share some of the tangible side of things. So can anyone guess, and I'll buy you a drink, soft or beverage, alcoholic, 70% what that refers to when we talk about networking? Any guesses? Any one guess? Any single guess?
Conversion?
Oh, she knows her stuff. You might have been in a talk of mine before. So between 70 and 80% of job roles are secured and filled through network. So that is someone within the organisation saying, do you know? That is also someone within the recruitment teams or even recruiters to some degree, I know said person. So knowing more people, connecting with more people will benefit you from a job perspective. This is where Pete's going, but it's about caring and community. It is, but I'd also like to get a new job potentially, and that might help me knowing a few people. This one is more the commercial side, 24 to 28%. Can anyone have a guess at that? It's a bit more of an ambiguous one. 24-20% in the events industry is the rough average of business that is brought in through people's network. So this is sales to businesses through network. So that will also count as a referral, that will also count as some of those kind of key metrics. So a quarter, if you own a business or work in a business, a quarter of the wages are paid for because people know other people and rate them. And then the last one, 31%, can anyone have a guess?
Chance of rain?
Chance of rain? No, that's 82%, unfortunately. So 31% is the compound effect that having a network will have on your earnings within your 40s, by the time you're 40. So it's proven that those who have a network, you guys in here have a network, we are networking, connecting, because of the compound effect. And it's quite a difficult one to measure. It took me some time last night, but we kind of got there. So that is a case of you might get to be one of the 70% who gets a role, and that means then you continue. So it might be through your network, you get the opportunity to go and speak at an event, so you get more publicity and seen, you extend your network. It means within the business then, you have more of an opinion, you might be higher chances of being promoted, you're then a likelier target to be approached by a headhunter, and the cycle continues. So it really does mean, sorry Pete, from a career and a earnings potential, this is nice and it is lovely, but it genuinely does change the course of your career and your earning potential. Put your hands up if you don't want more money. The photographer just did there. Oh, wiping his nose, sorry, just the thought, right. We just got a discount on our photos. But the other part of this is that being connected and showing up, and this does tie to personal brand in terms of how you show up, how frequently and things like this. I have some could say it's a good thing, but I will have a thought in the day randomly, and it will be about something that happened last year with a person, so I'll message that person out of context, completely randomly. Hey, how you doing? Saw something on LinkedIn about you a couple of months ago, how's it all going? What have you? And I do this all the time, probably 5 times a day, because that's just how my mind works. I just fire off messages. I generally do want to hear about that person, but it's just because I thought about them, and if I don't act on it, I'll forget about it. So that's how I do. So top of mind territory is worth a huge amount. So if someone thinks about, and let's say it is through the Elevate community, does anyone know anyone that is good at project management in Ireland? Well, yeah, actually, I worked with this person before, they were really good, I like them, we've kept in touch, I'll refer them. And the cycle continues. Now, for the bit that Pete's been waiting for. You also need to give a shit. And so a large part of this, in my notes here, don't be a dick. Very simple. The reason people succeed at creating communities, creating network, is never because they are financially driven, it's because they genuinely give a shit. And so whilst I partner this with the commercial, the career benefits, the earning potential, you genuinely need to care about people, about what you're doing, about the kind of community and the connections that you're making. Authenticity screams through, and if it isn't, you'll do okay with it, but it will run aground. It really will. So what does it make, or what does it take to create a successful network? There's 5 attributes to this, and I'm going to talk you through them briefly. So authenticity is that it is fairly, I say easy, but on a night out, we might be a bit of a booze coat on and things like that, is that we're trying to be or be perceived as something else. It falls apart. It comes undone. Being your authentic self will mean that you get to the core of that connection or to a more meaningful connection quicker. If they don't like you or you don't like them, that is cool. They can become part of your outer circle of connections. You don't have to be best mates. It might be that they serve you in some way, shape or form in the future. And you can have a few of those knocking about, the ones that are quite useful, that, you know what, it's okay, that's not bad. The value exchange, as I mentioned, is about this authenticity. There is a book called The Give and Gain, and it's effectively, if you give, and it's proven, if you give more than you receive, those individuals that do will receive that 3 times back. And that could be a whole different format or different context or different financial or models and things like this. It's called The Give and Gain. It feels weird and it feels almost unnatural where you are being taken advantage of, or if you're offering up your services or connections free or proactively, but I promise it comes back. The third aspect of this is passion, and so where we have, personal connections as well. So when building a network or connecting with someone, if you can find a personal connection, if you like, it might be charity work. It might be the fact that you love running and one of those run clubbers and you're like, yeah, love running, great, the gym. If you can connect over, traveling and things like that, that brings you 3 or 4-fold quicker to be able to connect with that person. So if you can find a passion or something you share, or whether it's commercial or personal and things like that, it gets you there so much quicker. And then action. And so my example there of thinking of someone and firing off a message, that is action. If you meet with someone like you just have, you have then got their number or you've got their name, you've then connected with them, it is on that person, or to be honest yourself, to follow that up. If you follow that up, there will then be an extension on from it. We'll talk about the ladder in a minute. That is the action that I'm talking about. It needs proactivity. 49% of people within the events industry are considered to have a network. Less than 25% of people actually think about it and actively build one, if you like, and proactively connect with others. So in terms of you being here tonight, 10 points. In terms of you connecting with other people, if you can do 3 or 4, you are in a top 10 capacity of building networks within our industry, if you like. So all of these numbers and things like that are great, right? But it doesn't feel necessarily kind of organic, but you do it naturally every day. And then the last one is around trust. So this is where, and you'll find this into that 20s or 30s, if someone asks for something, if you have someone that you trust, so an ex-colleague is a brilliant one, those people at work where you're like, yeah, we used to slag people off at the water cooler and stuff, great, I trust them implicitly. You're going to go back to those with potentially referral recommendation. If you've worked with someone before, they've built up a level of trust, you're going to give them that kind of benefit of the doubt and recommend them and things. So that trust aspect, this is where friends of friends, old colleagues and things like that is great. The one time I suggest you don't do this is when getting building works done on your house. Never go for a friend of a friend, because they're just so far removed that they'll go a little bit light, but when you come to bollocking them, it ruins the friendship in between. So just don't do that, right? Just keep building away from it, just keep it clean. So digitally, and there is 2 kind of camps to this, although the 2 are very much intertwined. LinkedIn is the business. I was going to use a different word there. I love LinkedIn, I think it's great. The content as of late is absolutely crap. However, as a networking community, it is amazing. to be able to find the CEO of Nike and drop them a message if you're connected enough, I think that's just incredible. So digitally, there is no reason why any of you couldn't connect with anyone else on the Elevate community or network, and I guarantee, or I hope, if you put "we are connected" through Elevate, they will accept and communicate. And if you don't, tell me, and I'll find them, and we'll have some words, all right? All of you should accept the Elevate community, all of you. But digitally, there's a few key steps. And so in terms of the process and how you might look to go about that, we have a ladder, if you like, the de-risk steps ladder. Creating new connections is fairly kind of simple in as much as commenting on someone else's posts, commenting on something they've achieved, reacting or sharing immediately creates a familiar territory, and there's a level of appreciation and there's a level of familiarity that goes with that familiarity. Then off the back of that, and if there is an appreciation, great. If not, they would have seen that, or most will have seen that, and then directly messaging or dropping them a form of direct communication will be a way to follow that up. We'll talk later about the specifics of when this will look like. But just a small exchange, and this needn't be more than "I saw this, I thought that was great, by the way." No one is going to turn a compliment away and going, piss right off, no thanks, and they'll appreciate it. After a few exchanges, realistically, we're trying to move into a form of either direct mail, so either emailing or WhatsApping as an example, or jump straight to a call or a coffee. And again, if you are citing the common links where we talked about the trust and shared passions, it could be through work, it could be Elevate, it could be others. Would love to buy you a coffee and pick your brains on this topic. Or we've got loads of mutual connections. You know what, I'd be really keen just to have a chat, because I think there's a few things that we could probably discuss, or mutual value is a lovely way to put it. And then a small test, and this is in the view of creating an active, closer kind of community network. The small test is there where it's sharing something, "I saw this and thought you'd like it, it would be beneficial, it will help," is a really good way of that kind of testing piece. And that would lead to then some form of collaboration. Once they understand your wares, they understand what you're about, you've built a level of trust, then you're in a position to be able to actively engage in a more kind of forward manner. Sounds simple, and it is, it can be. It can take 5 weeks, it can take 8 weeks, it can take 3 days. That process can be quick. But what I would say is that as someone, digitally or not, if you are in the middle, and I did this with Joe the other day, if you're able to connect two parties who you know will be a benefit to each other, it is like the holy grail. You get a 3-factor win here. So they appreciate you, they do business, you earn respect and credibility, and the next time they need anything from someone like yourself, bet you they're going to be coming asking for you. But then let's talk about the physical side of things, and this is where everyone gets a little bit nervous, if you like. So pre-event. There's 3 key factors that we kind of talk about when we talk about kind of pre-event. If you're attending an event, and if it's an industry one or otherwise, you should have a goal as to what you want to get out of it. If it's to turn up and have a free piss up, that is also fine. That is also fine. But set a goal. And it might be that actually you meet with or take someone else. That's also fine as well. But do have clear objectives about what you want to achieve out of that event. Otherwise, you'll go there, feel disappointed, you'll wander around, and it'll feel a little bit kind of aimless. Connect early and make yourself known. Through Elevate, as an example, you have the community. But if you're attending an event through, conference news or something like this, most of them will have an exhibitor list. Most of them will have an attendee list, as an example. Go on there and connect with them. Go on there and connect with them saying, I'm going to go on this day. Are you about? Would love to meet you in person. I've followed your content on LinkedIn for a period of time, whatever the case may be. Pre-warm it, and then you're walking straight into a warm and engaging conversation. And then prepare your intro. So this is where you have a single line that describes what you're about. That's why I asked you to do it beforehand. We're going to do it again at the end of it. But what are you about? One line that describes what you're about. And that could be a little bit of work, but it also should be what you're about. And that's really important to be able to hone it, so you don't spend 3 minutes waffling on, and by that point they're like, oh God, great, okay, fine. But if you do get nervous and you're of a more kind of nervous disposition things, you can always take someone along with you. So let's get to the action. Let's talk about when you're in the room and when it's all going off and it's happening. I created an acronym. Now it should be SCAN. I changed it. It's SCAN. I've gone Dutch on this one, and I thought it'd be more memorable, so you can enjoy this one. Can everyone say SCAN for me? Scarn, perfect, with the accent as well. We're all going to remember that, scarn. Truth be told, it's scan, but I have one that I really wanted to put in there, and now we've got a new one, so it's scarn. Scarn. Space, clusters, armour, activity areas, and the needs. And so SCARM stands for space. And so when you're walking into a room, I do a lap. I do it every time, anywhere I go, I do a lap. I walk around the perimeter as well. I'll go around the outside. It's not to check the exits or my escape routes or anything like this. It is what I do just to get an understanding of the space and how many people are in it. And then I find kind of a pocket that I feel comfortable or safer in. And it sounds ridiculous, and it could be that there's an open space or there's a poser table that's a point of anchorage, right? And that's a safe space. That is how I approach this. So if you are going into an environment, feel familiar with the space, you will feel safer as a result of it. Clusters, when you have plucked up the courage or feel brave enough, do approach someone. But be mindful that the people that you'd like to approach are often or will be stood in a V shape. And it sounds ridiculous, but those that are inviting or bored of the conversation will be stood open to the room rather than completely closed off in a circle or a square. An open V is absolutely them saying, shit me, please, someone come in, more interesting, and save us. I promise you, the V group versus the closed triangles is the one to be aware of. And then the scarn, the A, is the armour. After I do a lap, I then take a breath and go, fuck this, and go straight in, and I just go straight for someone and just go at it. This armour element is where you think, what is the worst that can actually happen? And the reality is, no one has ever, in 20 years of doing it, turn around and go, no thanks, mate, or piss off. They will be opening and welcoming, and if not, I'm stood there anyway, and they're going to be the dicks, right? So, what are you going to do? So just remember, and I think it was Charlotte on the podcast, it's never that deep, right? So just the worst that could happen is the conversation runs a bit flat. And you know what? They're lost. They've missed out on your amazing chat. They're lost, right? Your chat's great. I wasn't looking at you when I said that. And then activity areas. I find that a safe space, if you want to, bars, queues, coffee machines, food serving areas, these are prime time active areas where people are around or lingering or open to. And if you are struggling to or don't have a group that you're talking to or want to eject yourself out, then that's a really good one to look at. And then needs. You are seen as a hero if that you are in a conversation and you are open in your V and you invite someone in who you see walking past or on their own. The person in the conversation will be like, wow, they really kind, what legends. The person you've invited in thinks, holy shit, you're the best. And you're there going, I don't know either of you, but what I've just done is create a lovely little environment and we're all going to have a chat. Your credibility and your value goes right up there, because if someone invited you in, you would be really appreciative as well. So you don't need to be on authority or anything like that to do it, but you can invite people in for sure, and that sends you up. So another one. Oba? Oba? O-B-A. Oba? I'll work this one out. So this works both in person and digitally. And so again, this is all focused around the action of it. So being authentic is fundamentally here and clear. So when you are speaking to or opening up, open, a genuine observation, comment or compliment. I saw you in that session there. You know what? I love networking and Max Fellows. Isn't he brilliant? Christ, how do we follow him more? On LinkedIn. Great, let's connect, networking. A genuine, wasn't that bad. Come on, wasn't that bad. And then bridging it is how do you find an interest of theirs and put yourself into their world? So if they say, yeah, I actually loved that session, you know what I really enjoyed about it was the camaraderie of people in the room. And you're like, yeah, I really like that too. I'm part of Elevate. You should come and have a look at Elevate. It's amazing around that. You've bridged a gap and you've also then shared a commonality in terms of interest. You are flying. They're ready to give you work, business, whatever it is. And then the ask, this is where people get a little bit nervous. Don't ever leave the conversation as a Houdini. Should we connect? Love to have a coffee. If they were boring, don't worry about it. But as a means of just seeding that in there, don't ever leave it left, effectively, because the work that you've done, and it might not feel like work, but you have put the effort in, do always have an ask or an action. So, starting the conversation, I want you to the same person, or actually no, a different person, come up with 3 openers, and you've got literally a minute. So you actually know one each. Let's do one each with a different person, an opening line as to how you would open up and introduce yourself. Okay? 1 minute. Ready? Steady. Go. 10 minutes. So the whole premise about this one-liner is the more interesting you can make it, and sometimes the more fun you can have with it, the more it will open up a conversation, the speed of which is like an icebreaker, right? If you were dating or anything else, the one-liners you might get on Bumble or Hinge or whatever the case may be, the more interesting the better. Having a well-rehearsed or at least a one-liner or being confident in what you're about makes the difference of someone really buying into that conversation, actively listening to you, versus them going, cool, great, forgotten your name already. Talking about forgetting names. I forget names all the time. That is one of my bad habits. Don't anyone ask me to remember their name here. But there's a few things that I do in terms of tips and tricks. And so with this, I'm quite happy to. And so of an evening like tonight, I would like to meet 3 to 5 new people. But if I end up in a conversation after having met 1 or 2 for an hour, but that conversation is good and rich and rewarding, that is fine. You know, that is good. I think you have to be quite careful, and I'm going to now caveat, what we shouldn't go is to a event or something going, right, I'm going to meet 30 people, LinkedIn the shit out of this, leave with my fingers burning and, yeah, business. It's not. It's a case of that is a byproduct of meeting people in the way that we've been talking about, is the benefit and everything else. You're never going to meet 30 people unless you're amazing. What I do, when it comes to names, I'll ask them to repeat it, even if I heard it. And then I will ask, or in some way, use their name 3 times within the first 2 or 3 minutes. Simon, you said something really interesting. Simon, what do you think about this? Simon, I love that point. That was really interesting. And then I've got it. And then I will make one of my excuses, and I'll write it on my phone. And I will write, Simon, Elevate, this date, Protein Studios. And I'll put 2 or 3 things about what he was about. Let's say he was about events, staging, and production, or something of this nature. And so I will have, my phone is littered with all this weird and wonderful list of names, but that's how I do it. I talked about being the host. If you can introduce someone in, it puts you onto like superhero status. It does amazing things and people really care. And the other thing is offer value. I talked about this give and gain, giving more than you receive. If you can offer help to someone, if they're talking about a challenge or they're talking about work, you know what, I know someone who'd be really good for that, or have you ever thought about this, or I had that problem too, here's something that helped me. That value is mega. It does some incredible things. And like I said, the quality aspect of this, don't worry about numbers, worry about the quality of it. So, we're having a great conversation. We're in new places. We're meeting new people. Simon is actually boring, and he's not very good value. And I've been talking to Simon for 10 minutes. Ejecting out of a conversation is a legitimate thing, a skill, and also something that people are terrified about, and especially those who are a little bit nervous at the front end. Learning how to eject out of a conversation is just as important as learning how to get into it, because that lasting impression is what they will remember you by. If you're a dick about it, they'll go, oh God, I thought it was all right. Simon's gone, oh, Max, I thought it was all right. No, he's not, absolutely not. But if someone is, you've had that conversation, you've explored some nice things, you've connected, you've got their details, that's cool, that's okay, because you've got that person to some degree, and you've got enough to follow up with them, brilliant. I'd actually like to go and meet a few other people rather than being anchored. If they are socially concerned or awkward and things like that, they might anchor onto you, and that's quite a tricky thing to get out of, especially if Simon's a clinger, and you go to the food and try and talk to someone else, and he's got terrible chat, and he's followed you, and you're like, oh no. Simon the anchor, oh God, he's here. So 3 kind of ways of getting out of this, ejecting yourself out of a conversation as well. There is the redirect, the firm, and then the soft. So the redirect, personal favourite of this, Lovely. Oh, look, drink's dry. I'm just going to pop to the guys. You guys connect me, girls connect me. I'll be back in a bit. And I'm not coming back. But I know your name. I know what we're about. No one is ever going to remember you and go, Max, you said you were going to come back from the bar and you didn't, and I'm never talking to you again. Not going to happen. Who's going to argue? You don't need the loo. Right, no, I'm not. Yes, I do. Out your way. Or I've seen someone, excuse me, guys, just seen someone I really want to connect with. You know, lovely meeting you both. I'll see you later, kind of thing, and off you eject. Firm. So this is kind of like a shit sandwich. So there is a compliment and then an honest exit. So I don't know who Simon is. I'm sorry if anyone's called Simon tonight, but you're in the firing line. Simon, really good chatting to you this evening. Really great. Let's connect afterwards. I've really got a dash, or I really want to meet a few more people. It's firm, it's fair, you've given them the compliment, but the reality is it's honest and it's okay, and actually that integrity is good too. You don't have to use the loo or the bar, but it's always sometimes easier. And then the soft one is prioritizing, and so the firm would be used with people who you think, okay, they're kind of my people or not in my network. I don't really see huge amounts in the future, but let's keep in touch. Soft is for those that actually genuinely, we've had a lovely connection, but I do want to go and speak to other people. There is a compliment and then a priorities of next step. Look, I would love to continue this conversation. Do you fancy a coffee sometime? Or let's connect right now, like you have just done. Let's connect right now and let's keep in touch in the messaging. Great. Once that action has happened, a number exchanged, a date agreed, or a follow-up agreed, the kind of conversation naturally just runs aground. You're like, perfect. And then you just kind of exit out sideways. Or Houdini it, you know, what's that over there? And then run, basically. And then the last part of this is after the action. It's really, really important, follow up. If you say you're going to follow up, you say you're going to send something, do so. Otherwise, you look an idiot and that relationship will start in a negative keel. Stay connected and follow through, and then be patient but also be persistent. If they don't immediately follow back, give it a few days, give it a week or so, just following up. We had a really good conversation. If you've tried 3 times over a course of action and period of time, that's fine. You're worth more than that. That's okay. I'll go for 5 because I'm a persistent bastard, but that's fine. But do know your worth as well, and it's a relationship that works 2 ways. So and beyond, thinking about this and what we're talking about, a good cadence to building your network into that successful 40 compound effect. Engage or comment 4 times a week with your connections, be it like LinkedIn or comment on WhatsApp or whatever the case may be. Connect with 3 new people a week. So let's say LinkedIn, 3 new people, connect with them. If you add a message, it's 3 times, 4 times more likely that they'll receive you. 2, efforts are trying to help someone. Right? If you can do this, superpower territory. And the last one, if you can meet someone new in real life a week, the compound effect of this is absolutely massive. Huge. The benefits are massive. Like I said, 5 years ago, I went self-employed, terrified, and all of a sudden, things started clicking. And all of a sudden, you start realizing, it's like someone's turned the lights on, you think, that's what this is about a bit. Holy shit, I'm actually living off of that network. So, final thought from me today. We used to be in a society where it was 6 degrees of connections and things like this. We are in an industry of about 4. The reality is, it's probably 2. So if you want to try and meet someone or know someone, don't be afraid to ask, because the reality is there will be one person in between you to actually knowing that person. The Elevate community is a brilliant place to do this. Don't ever be afraid to send up a flare. Does anyone know anyone in this kind of space or field? Or me, Mel, Pete, or any of the board, I promise you we'll respond, and I promise you we will help connect you. We actually enjoy it because it's something that we can help with in a way that isn't financial, and it will hopefully benefit you in the long run. So, Pete likes this quote more than I do, but I think it's good. Success isn't about how much money you make, it's about the positive impact and difference you can make on other people's lives. Pete was very concerned because I had actually slightly adapted it. I put in the word network, but because it was going out on a podcast, he was worried about her legal team, so I've changed it. So success is not about how much money you make, it's about the positive difference you make in people's lives. So I want you to think to yourself, what's the one thing you're going to now do? What's the one thing off the back of tonight? You're already going to go meet a few other people in a minute, but what's the one key thing that you're going to do in order to commit to build your network and benefit it? Thank you very much. I really appreciate your attention. Thank you. And sorry, Simon, I don't know who you are, but you caught it, yeah, quite badly. But I really appreciate it. So we've got time for questions. Does anyone have questions?
How do you get over the cringiness of when, it's fine to network in a situation that you've kind of been thrust into, but when you want to connect with someone, but you've not necessarily met them, or you've got the connection through someone, how do you get over that? Oh my God, I have to talk to them.
Do they know you yet? As in, do they know of you, or is this completely cold?
Could be either. I think it's...
Well, if they don't know you, they don't know that it's cringy yet, so that's on you, right? So that is literally you freaking yourself out about the potential of this is a bit awkward, this is a bit icky, and everything else. They don't know what's coming yet, so your connection, your message, they have no idea. So you can put your armour on and be whoever you want to be, and your tone of voice can be whatever you want to be. But you can be what you need and want to be, so don't overthink it in terms of that cringiness. In person, it's trickier. But just remember that everyone in there is in that same position, and it may not feel like it, but everyone is in that same position. So if you go up to a group and you linger on the side or you're nearby, open V, then they will have you, and honestly, they'll welcome you in. And the reality is you could even I like that. You could even go in there and just say, look, guys, I don't really know that many people here. I thought that was really good, but I'd love to chat to you guys. You guys look like you enjoyed it too. You can use that to your advantage, and you can. It's authentic. You can be yourself. That's okay. You don't have to pretend to be someone else. That authenticity piece counts masses, right? Don't overthink it.
Hi.
Hey.
So I just had a question. You talked a little bit about value exchange in networking, but obviously in different points in your career, you may feel or you may genuinely not have as much value to exchange with the person that you are networking with.
Yeah.
So how do you manage that relationship building when actually you're being the receiver of the value rather than the provider of the value? And how do you still make that relationship matter and count and feel like you're not just milking them?
So really good question, really good question. I think there's kind of two parts to that, one of which I would argue you have shit tons of value, so don't ever think that you are the lesser of the two. I think that it's perception. And I've heard this story 3 times about this bottle of water you buy at Costco, it's 50p, and you buy it in the shop, it's £1.50, and you buy it on an aeroplane, it's £6, and in a festival, it's £8 or what have you. It's kind of the perception of value in the right place. So if you're speaking to someone, they may be older than you or have a longer career or to, on paper, be more established. The reality is they might have no idea about what is going in the world of digital media or content creation. They might have no idea what is going on in the realms of, influencer marketing or whatever the case may be. And the fact is, in our industry, you could have someone who's in an operations role or someone who is an MD and you're in a creative role. The understanding and what you see from a creative perspective is stuff that they don't. And so I just think, I think, value yourself and your worth like loads. And we have this all the time when it comes to mentoring. People think you have to be 5 years in, 10 years in to be able to do it. A year's experience means that you have a level of authority, and not authority, bad word, you have a level of experience that you can help someone else just starting out. But I think that if you've been in the industry or your lived experience means that you've got value for someone else. So you're never the lesser of the two ever. It's just that you have a different level of interest or different things which you might both love running, in which case you're both just runners and what's your minute mile type, and that puts in a different keel. The next part in terms of that milking, as part of that conversation, it's quite an interesting one to try and work out how you could help them and explore that. As an active listening to what they're about, you then will naturally ask more questions, and there's one thing that people love doing, and it's being asked questions and talking about themselves. So if they say to you, look, how can I help you? Don't be afraid to say, look, I'm a freelancer and I'd love to get into festivals, or I'd love to get into this. Ask. But I do think as well is that asking or those kind of inquisitive nature questions, finding out what they're about, makes that bond better, if you like. I think it takes someone quite strong to kind of meet someone and go, can you help me? I need this. That isn't a value exchange. That is a very direct need and a very direct kind of grab. I think you're trying to establish a relationship first, find out if there's any common interests, build that trust, and then see what you can help them with. And in doing so, they'll ask you, and they'll be willing and keen to help back. But really good question. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
I've got a question about young kids, and I'm thinking about my 21-year-old daughter, right?
Yeah.
And they don't particularly like talking to people in real life. They don't particularly like picking up the phone. They don't like that kind of networking thing. And
no one likes picking up the phone anymore.
We want to get those kind of young kids to kind of feel comfortable in this space, doing this networking. And I see that with like young people starting in the industry. How do we help them do that stuff?
Yeah, I think a statistic I had the other day, post-COVID, email usage has gone up 83%, which is rank, isn't it? Absolutely gross. Try and build a relationship over an email, you know. If you take in person to then on the phone to then a video call, phone call, WhatsApp and all the rest of it, and just email is the absolute worst. In terms of building it for young kids, Pete and the team are doing an amazing job with the New Gen project. The reality is that it needs allies to some degree, someone to perhaps bridge them in. That's what I was talking about, that kind of don't be afraid to bring someone. It's hugely intimidating and they don't necessarily have the skills or have been in that situation before. So I think part of it is you know, buddying up with those individuals. I think it's explaining what it is and take my hour ramble into 5 minutes maybe and explain a little bit about, look, we're going to go to this event and let's just let's see who we meet, let's have a chat and a drink and things. Just don't put pressure on it and worry about it. I think there is a massive job to do, and we were talking about this in terms of content for the end of programme, around the softer skills, around how do you introduce yourself to someone. It sounds so simple, but actually a lot of young people in terms of their approach to it and things like that wouldn't have done that before. So I think there's a soft skills thing about getting them used to, and whether it's if they do it on email first and then in person, I think that there's a kind of a building process. Chucking someone into an Elevate event, whilst they'll be welcome open arms, it will still be pretty terrifying. I think it's our duty, if you like, to try and build that up.
Just on that.
Yeah.
One sec, can't hear you. Won't be on the podcast.
So on that, we see working from home versus working in the office have a negative impact on younger people, because they're the ones that want to be in the office, meeting other people, networking naturally. Yeah. And there's a debate in the industry at the moment. Yeah. The more that they can be out there in real life, at events, at offices, definitely, the better.
You think of what we talked about, I completely agree, but you think about what we talked about here around friends of friends or peers of peers or colleagues, ex-colleagues and things like that. Fundamentally, our working career gives us probably the largest base of network, and you know, a network is there to help us and for us to help them, but advance us and benefit us both financially and in the heart, you know, from a heartfelt thing. But you just can't do that at home. And you can build a level of rapport. You know, it's like old school pen pals and things, you know, that has a level of engagement and things, but actually when you meet in person, it's kind of, the depth of relationship just goes massive. And so I would completely agree with you, and I do think, especially in our industry, especially with younger people coming through as well, there is no substitute for peer-to-peer connection, talking, learning, development, personal skills and all the rest of it. And then that's a whole nother conversation that we could go on for all night. Last question, one more.
I was just going to go add on to the thing about young people, because I'm 19 myself. And I find it really difficult to put myself in these situations, because I feel like also not feeling like I have anything relevant to say. But some advice I'd say to like other young people is enjoy putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. You end up getting like a thrill out of it, because it's not really fun. Like I get really anxious even coming to things like this, but like how rewarding it is when you come out of it and you have met other people that bring benefit to you is really good. So I just say, just put yourself out there.
Love that, yeah. And what was your name? Ruby. Ruby's the first person that came and said hello to me today, not knowing anyone here, and I was stood here on my own, finishing off the presentation. But yeah, no, so well done, honestly. That whole premise, and I'm a massive fan of this, you learn and grow 10 times in the space where you're uncomfortable than you are in your safety space. So what a way to finish as well. Thank you so much, everyone, really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
This project is powered by our partners Cvent, Jack Morton, Live Union, Powwow, PSP, the production department, We Are Collider, and CastleBell. Our training partner is Matt Bolton-Alarcón from Special Source Training. Our people and culture partners are Zoe Tuffs from Times 10 Coaching and people and culture strategy consultant Nic Neal. Our venue partner is Protein Studios. Together we're changing lives, careers, and the events industry for the better. Our sound and mix engineer is Matteo Margarelio, and our producer is me, Peter Kerwood.